You don't know who I am, I'll tell you.
That is the wrong picture.
Sorry, I didn't. There's a little bit of lag at my end, and the countdown is a little delayed. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry, I've got my right sippy cup here. Okay, when I was approached to do this discussion, I was actually quite enthusiastic. This is the presentation where we are going to dash every one of your hopes and dreams. There have been more than one instance where Alkali and I have been seated, usually at a bar, almost always at a bar, and some eager, smiling young fans come up to us and say, "We're going to start a convention." We look at each other and we say, "Okay, we're going to tell you some things." And it's usually within about 20 minutes, you just see the enthusiasm has evaporated from their faces. I heard this from a certain bearded, top-hatted ferret there. Do you care to share with the group when you sent me that email talking about this very convention here?
Are we talking about the original email?
Yes.
I did the same as many people have done to me and him, and I reached out for help, which, by the way, is the first step to running a con. No one runs a con by themselves. And I reached out to my good friend, Uncle Kage, and I sent him an email, multiple paragraphs explaining the need for a con in my area and that I wanted to run a con. And he sent me back a reply. He sent me back a one-sentence reply in 72 font. Would you like to tell them what it said on this PG-13?
Oh, screw the PG. Sorry. Fuck the PG-13. It's not my con. I'll do whatever the hell I want. Shut the mic off if you don't like it. It said, and I'm going to make poor Lauren have to say this. I said, I'm going to watch her. I want to see how to say this. I said, "You're a fucking idiot."
I still have the email.
Yes. Because, all right, let's get into why I answered that question. First off, it's not as fun as it looks. I mean, yeah, it is fun and it has its own rewards, but it will be probably the most amount of stress you have ever dealt with in your entire life. And you're going to wind up eating a lot of shit that people throw your way. Let's begin. I've separated this into a bunch of questions: where, what, who, which, when, how, and why. Let's start with the where. People come up to me, and Alkali kind of alluded to this when he was talking about the email. He said, "Oh, we need a convention in my area." All right. The first thing I say to these people is, all right, I want to talk about that. "Oh, we're going to start a convention in my hometown of East Chumfucker, Iowa." Okay. First off, what the hell makes you think people are going to want to go to a convention in East Chumfucker, Iowa? Usually the answer to the question is, we want to have a convention where we are. That's not a reason to start a convention. This whole, if you build it, they will come, that only works in movies about baseball. If you were to build a giant mega shopping mall in the middle of the Gobi Desert, you're not going to expect a lot of people showing up. But people still do it. "I want to start a convention in my backyard." When they say that, I say, okay, how many people attended the last fur meet that you held?
There you go.
I usually say, we actually don't have any fur meets. "Oh, really? So you don't have enough people in your area to even get together for a freaking bowling meet, and now you want to start a convention there? You're going to lose your shirt." You also have to find out, is there already a furry convention somewhere geographically that is going to take away from your attendance, both in geography and in the calendar. Yeah. We want to start a furry convention 16 miles outside of Pittsburgh, and we're going to schedule it for July 18th. Yeah, sure. Good luck with that one. We're going to have a convention in downtown Chicago, and we're going to schedule it for the first weekend of December. Yeah. Good luck with that one too. What people don't seem to realize is you're skipping a big step. Conventions don't just spring up like mushrooms after the rain. They grow organically. You start with a group of people who get together and do fun stuff, and that group just gets so big, it can't be a house party anymore. You've got to move it to a larger venue.
Physically cannot be a house party anymore. The damage done to poor Bit's house. And that's how we knew. When 100+ people showed up at the other person who started that convention with me, when he did not have a lawn afterwards, that's when we knew it was a time for a convention.
Yes. And that's an excellent reason. You've got the base. You already have the proto convention. You move it to a hotel and you've got the momentum. You can't learn to walk on Thursday and expect to run the Boston Marathon on Sunday. But that's what a lot of people try to do. Okay. So you still want to have a convention in East Chumfucker, Iowa. All right. And you told me that nobody comes to you don't even have any fur mates. All right. How many furries are in the area? 5, 6, you and your roommate? You need staff to run a convention. And 5 or 6 people ain't going to do it. If you want to run a convention of even about 300 people, you're going to need at least 20, 25 good, solid staff members. At the absolute minimum, 2 people to run each department. Why 2 people? What if one gets hit by a bus? Hope it doesn't happen. Alkali, how many staff members does Fur Squared have?
We are just shy of 3 digits. This year being an obvious exception because of online, but the physical convention stops just shy of 100 different staff members, and that's pre-con. There's a few of them that only help after con, but that's staff. That's all stuff you need to be ready to do. Yep. Who's going to unload the truck back at the storage facility? Not my fat ass, that's for sure.
So there's that, your logistics. Who's going to lift and tote everything? Who's going to run registration? Who's going to run operations? Who's going to run your website? Who's going to be the dealer's room coordinator? You're going to have a dealer's room? Who's going to be the art show coordinator? You're going to have an art show? Who's going to run programming? Who's going to run AV? Who's going to run your publications? You need a core group of people to do this. And you've got to put the right people in the job. And at this point, this one sounds mean, and I don't mean it to sound mean, but I've been in this business a hell of a long time, probably longer than just about anybody else. Does it show? Yeah. But no, don't agree with me, you asshole. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to say, no.
You're 22 years old. It shows.
Yes, I started running Anthropon when I was a fetus. There are 2 kinds of people who state that they want to run a convention. There's the kind who say, we've got a great group here. It's outgrown the house. This is our opportunity to build the community here in our hometown, and it'll be great, and yay furries, and we're going to do something, we're going to give back. And then there's the person who say, I'm going to be the man, I'm going to be the one in charge, I want to be the one everybody says, look at me. You got to be honest with yourself. If you want to start a convention because you want to be the man, the dude, the gal, whatever you want to call it, you're going to fail. period. You are going to fail. Um, I have not seen any convention succeed where it's been very obvious that the person in charge was doing it because they wanted to, I'm going to be the one on the pedestal.
Oh boy.
You want to be the one on the pedestal? Sure. Great. You're going to be the one on the pedestal. I'm going to give you a mental image. You ever gone to the carnival where you see a bottle sitting on a pedestal and people pay $1 to throw a baseball at it and see if they can knock it down? That's going to be you on your pedestal. It's true. It's true. Am I okay, Alkali? Am I wrong?
Without telling the whole story, we were both at the opening ceremonies where the con chair decided it was time to apologize to his entire staff, bring them up in front of people, and tell us what he had done and why he deserved their forgiveness. And then we watched people leave. The show was about him. The audience was awkward. It sullied the entire convention. You have never been more right.
When he gave this wonderful show of thanking his staff for sticking with him and for recognizing how much he had worked and how much he had sacrificed, and then he started crying, so emotional was he. I leaned over to Alkali, and I think that my exact words were something to the effect of, I'm going to fucking throw up.
It was not a good experience. It was not a good experience. And don't forget, our audiences are fairly noticeable. They recognize when somebody is so full of shit that their eyes are brown. Let's.
Yeah. Note that my eyes are blue.
Oh crap! My eyes are brown. I suck.
Yes. But that's why I like you, Alkali.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
Moving right along, shall we?
Okay,
I should have waited till Bick was doing the interpretation, but that's okay. I love you, Lauren. Okay, I got my little list here of things to watch for. After this little tirade of ours, we're going to have a brief break, and then we're going to launch into convention war stories, where essentially we're going to be illustrating all of these points in what is hopefully a fashion that is entertaining for you and not so much post-traumatic for us.
A little side note about that panel, Dragger and I have discussed it. We are waiving the 2-year rule. We have 2 horror stories that have happened in the last 2 weeks that we will be telling.
Oh, good. Oh, you want to tell the one?
Which one?
You want to tell the one about how you scheduled some guy to join you on Convention War Stories, but didn't tell him you were going to, and he had to find out by looking at the schedule himself?
Don't know what you're talking about. Oh, my drink is here. Thank you, waiter. Yes, I'm at a restaurant. I'm going through a tunnel. Cheers. Look, sometimes even the best laid of plans go to hell because you forget to text Kage. My bad, dude. My bad.
Or you forget that Kage doesn't read his texts until like 6 or 7 days when he happens to look at his phone.
A third convention horror story that has happened in the last 7 days.
Yeah, that doesn't get you off the hook. I still found out about this last night when somebody said, "You're doing this." I said, "What? No, I'm not." Oh, shit.
I'll send you a few bottles. My apologies.
All right. Okay. So let's assume that you actually do have a good base of furry fans. You've got a house party that's getting out of hand. You think it's time to move to an actual organized hotel event. At this point, you are not running a party anymore. The very second you are moving it into a venue that you pay for, you are now conducting a business, whether you like it or not. If you continue to run it like a bunch of kids having a party, you ain't gonna last, and you're probably gonna lose your shirt. Let's see. I just listed a few things here that you really do need to pay attention to. And Alkali, you can pipe up or fill in where I might be missing some things.
No
Number
problem.
one, you need to incorporate. An LLC, limited liability corporation, is probably optimal because if shit hits the fan, you want this faceless construct of a corporation to be the target. You don't want it to be you.
Never.
If you want to be nonprofit, okay, now here is where there is a raging debate about this one, but you're going to get my side of it because I'm here and the other guys ain't. So that means I'm right. You want to be
That's the best logic.
If you want to be for profit, great. You had better take some business courses because that's an entirely different animal.
Yep.
You want to be nonprofit, almost all conventions of our type are nonprofit. But you can't just waltz in and say, we're nonprofit. It doesn't work like that. You have to establish yourself as a nonprofit, which means registering with the federal government as a nonprofit organization. Conventions of our sort have two paths that are taken. If you like numbers and like to look shit up, it is Section 501C of the U.S. Code of People Who Like to Read Codes, or whatever the hell the thing is called. There is Section 501c3, which is what we call a pure public charity. Churches, schools, the local symphony, the Red Cross. That is 501c3, pure public charity. It exists entirely for the benefit of the public at large. The next one along is 501c7. That is a fraternal organization, the Elks Club, fraternities. It is understood that you are not a public organization, you're a private members organization. Membership might be open to the public, but it is still a private organization. When I was first incorporating Anthropocon back in 1998, I had a lawyer assisting. The only advantage that I could see to being 501c3, if you're C3, pure public charity, then people who make donations can deduct those donations from their taxes. 501c7, your donations are not tax deductible.
Correct.
I told the lawyer that I thought we wanted to be 501c3. And she explained to me that, okay, that means you're a pure public charity. You're a public educational institution, a church, whatever. She said, are you sure you don't want to be 501c7, which is a social organization? I said, no, we want to be 501c3 so people can deduct from their taxes. And she said, okay, that's fine. I will not represent you in court.
Yep.
That got my attention.
Yeah.
She was also the one who said, now you said that at the time, your base tends to be younger people, college students, your recent graduates, folks like that. I said, yeah. And she said, how many of those folks itemize their deductions for their taxes? Okay. That was 20 odd years ago, and it's probably still true today. Even if you do itemize your deductions, have you noticed the laws changed a little bit about that?
Every year. Mm-hmm.
Just say. Okay.
To piggyback on,
go on. Yeah.
To piggyback on that one, I just want to remind everyone that as a C7, for the most part, your charities the charity that you are giving to will in fact be a C3. And to our larger donating attendees, there has been a few instances where we just talk to the charity themselves, and that particular donation, that one person's donation, just goes through the charity in that moment for the tax exempt. So yes, C7 I do truly believe is one of your best options for this. The C3 route is more complicated, and on top of that, you do your taxes for Anthrocon. If I believe so, you at least get them done. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The taxes for a C7 are a few pieces of very straightforward paperwork. One of the reasons we stuck with a C7, there's exceptions, but you can
almost 27 pages of straightforward paperwork as opposed to 45.
Yes, but they're very straightforward, though. One of the reasons we did that is the day that we do need to hand over the convention. Uh-oh.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, absolutely. But that is one of the advantages of a C7. You will have an easier time come tax season, especially if your finance director is a little bit organized and just has a calendar. A calendar solves a lot of your tax problems, knowing when things are due.
Yep. By the way, this is why I just utterly despise cell phones. I don't like to be interrupted. When this thing rings, I'm going to grab it and check because it's going to be important. I picked it up and it says, "Hi, I'm watching your stream." Well, good. I'm glad. We'll talk. Okay. The 501c7 tax paperwork, it's 27 pages of one pair of questions. It all boils down to this. Where did those dollars come from? Where did they go? That's all they care about. Anthrocon brought in $835,000 in 2019. Okay, where did that money go? Well, I bought a box of Staples for 89 cents. We bought a roll of paper towels for the green room, and that was $1.15.
There's a miscellaneous column. Miscellaneous column, right number. Oh my God.
Okay, the problem is you should not have a scientist keeping track of all this stuff because we have a tendency to pay attention to. Maybe this is why it's 27 pages for us.
That's exactly why.
I have reported to the U.S. government every paper towel that we have bought. I've reported to the U.S. government every damage fee that we have paid to hotels. That has its own separate line item.
Yes, it does.
Indeed it. Speaking of separate, get a separate bank account. If you try to run a convention out of your personal bank account, you're going to fucking go to jail, and I'll be laughing the entire time you do it.
Yes, that is an insanely, do not do that. You need oh my God.
No, you run it out of your personal bank account, the IRS is going to come after you and say, "What's all this money?" And they're not going to want to hear, "Oh, I ran a convention." No, they're going to say, "Well, how come you didn't pay income tax on this?" It's going to be a mess.
Yep.
And I'm just going to give a little lead in. This is not really this is for the next discussion. If you're going to raise money for charity, have someone from the charity there. Let them collect the money. Because if you take the money and give it to the charity, you now have kind of set yourself up because you have become a fundraising organization, which is very different from a social organization. The government's going to want to know, what is the mechanism? You took this money in. Well, that's income, right? And even if you gave it to the charity, don't touch the charity money. Don't touch the charity money. we'll discuss that in the next talk.
Just a really quick one for anyone doing the wrong thing. And by the way, I truly do believe it's a bad idea of starting up one of these conventions as a for-profit. You never, ever, ever want the charity money to go through your convention. Only 10% of that is tax deductible. That is all income. You take in $10,000 for the charity, you give the charity $10,000, you are paying on $9,000 of taxes. Do not, if you go that route, never take the money for the charity.
Yep. And here's something that sounds so elementary. It's one of these things where an outside observer would say, well, that's obvious. Why do you feel the need to say that? I feel the need to say it because there's a need to say it. You need to have a budget, and you've got to stick to it. How many times have we seen, not to mention any names like DashCon or Lost Pegasus Unicon or anything, or Fire Festival, anything like that?
Not to mention any names, none.
I just did, didn't I?
We'll
edit that out. Okay, before this
absolutely.
goes out, we'll edit it. Okay. All right, so edit this part out before it gets released. Anyway, there's a phenomenon. There's a weird thing that happens with lottery winners, and it happens all the time. It's been reported in psychological journals. It's a very, very recognized and almost expected outcome. Some schlub wins $15 million in the lottery, and he runs right out and spends $24 million. There is a significant number of lottery mega winners who wind up in the poorhouse, bankrupt, in debt within a year, because their mind just blows up. I've got all this money. I've got all the money in the world. This is amazing. And I've seen it happen. I have seen this happen with small conventions. These are people, I'm sorry, these are people who probably have never had more than $100 in their hand at any time in their life. All of a sudden, they've got $25,000. This is more money than they have ever seen. It is an inconceivable amount. So they go start spending money. And before they know it, the money's gone. And they still have bills coming in. This has happened to furry conventions. It's happened to a number of furry conventions. It is more common than you think. Have a budget. How do you write a budget? Very, very simple. Fire up Microsoft Excel or whatever your favorite spreadsheet program is.
Always Excel.
Always Excel. I'm going to ask you a question. How many people do you expect to show up at your convention? Multiply that number by the base membership fee. I don't want to hear about sponsors, super sponsors, this or that. Don't even consider that. Assume there's going to be not a single sponsor, whatever. You're going to charge, I don't know, $5 per member, and you're expecting to have 300 members. First off, if you expect 300 members your first year, you're an idiot. Don't do it. You're going to die. So this is how much money you can reasonably expect to come in. Of your 300 people you expect, multiply that by 2/3. Right off the bat. Right off the bat. You expect 300? No, you're going to get 200. Plan for 200. And people say, well, that hardly leaves us anything. Yes, that's the point. If you plan for 200 people and 800 show up, oh, well, what a tragedy. You've got all this extra money that you can spend next year. But if you plan for 206 show up, you're in trouble. So definitely conservatively estimate the number of people you're going to get, write that budget, and start entering stuff in. You want to rent a karaoke machine? Okay, great. That's $1,200. Those things are pricey. You want to have this amazing DJ equipment, enter that in. You want to do this, let's do that. You want to buy high end badge printers with glossy UV active badges, go ahead, add that in. You'll be amazed at how fast that number builds up until it exceeds the amount of money you expect to have. At that point, you need to rein it in.
There's also, and this one, it breaks my heart when I see this one go poorly. You have to remember that that money that you are expecting will be coming in the day of your convention in registration, after it's already gone. And before that, there is one very large bill that will need to be taken care of, especially if they don't think you can, and that is your venue. Who will just kick you out? You need to be prepared to have the money in the bank to pay for your venue before the event starts, which changes all of your calculations, which, by the way, it's been in the chat, and we do agree with this. Obviously, year one, your finance director should have some background in finance. And I mean, not my style of finance. I mean, actual finance. Knowing how much you're going to need to have in before the convention starts and how you are going to get that is going to dictate your year one. Years after that change, but year one, you can only pay for what you can afford after you've paid the hotel. The hotel fee will be in your bank account, burning a hole in your pocket till the day it is gone.
Yep. If the guy that you have entrusted with the convention's finances in the last 6 months could not scrape together $300 to avoid an eviction, you probably have the wrong person in charge. Now, I'm not going to mention any names, but it was Capital City FurCon. Anyway, let's keep moving here. We'll edit that out too. Before this gets released, edit that out too.
My chairman keeps giving me the thumbs up every time you mention a name. He's super into this, by the way.
Well, that's because it's your con, not mine. Okay. You need a lawyer. Don't try to do anything without a lawyer. When the hotel gives you that contract with that big smile on their face, take it, say thank you, and go home.
Yes.
Do not sign it right there.
Yes.
Because I don't care how smart you are, they're smarter. They've been in the business a long time. That contract is full of language that penalizes you if you don't give them everything they want. But there's nothing in there to protect you if the hotel falls down on the job or falls down, period. You need a lawyer to look over that contract. Do not sign the first one. Now,
and really quick, a lawyer is only one part of it. I just want to bring it up because if I had not reached out to you, there would be 2 lines in my contract that I do not have. I would have never thought of it. When the contract comes, it is time to reach out to a furry who has run a convention before to help you out with a few lines. I would have never thought putting in a clause that said, you can never tell me that I can't wear a fursuit anywhere in the hotel. I never thought of that line. Yeah. It's just part of the convention. That's not the line that I'm sure you're about to talk about, catastrophic failure to the hotel. The clause after that made them help was yet another line I would not have thought of. The kill clause is always in there, but the one that says if the kill clause is your fault that you need to help me find a responsible venue, that one I would have never thought of without your help.
Yep. There have been conventions. As a matter of fact, I think, Alkali, you might have been at 1 or 5 or 50 of them where, okay, you've got some hotel security chief who is very, very gung-ho and thinks he's the greatest detective in the world. He sees all these people with masks and he says, oh, this is a danger of terrorism. And suddenly the hotel security chief comes up and says, all these people got to take those masks off. We can't have people covering their faces here. This is a security issue.
Yep.
It's happened. Hotels have come to convention organizers and said, yeah, we're going to have to ask you to take those costumes off.
Yep.
And if it's not in your contract, they can do that. And if you don't play ball with them, they'll kick you out because they can do that too.
Yep.
Um, Anthracon's contracts with all of its hotels, all 10 of them, specifically states that, okay, our people are going to wear costumes. You got to let them wear their costumes. There is an allowance if the costume is creating a significant disturbance or is unacceptably revealing. You can ask an individual, you can tell an individual that costume is not appropriate.
Correct.
But you can't tell somebody you can't wear that costume. It is also spelled out where you can and cannot wear a fursuit. You can wear it in public areas except the restaurant and the pool. That's a safety issue, both of those. There is an old saying in contract law, Boozy will tell you this. If it's not written in the contract, it never happened. If they say to you, oh, don't worry, that won't be a problem, that's great. Add it to the contract, please.
Yep.
If they say, well, we don't really need to add it to the contract, oh, thank them very much. Pick up the paper, start walking out the door. Because if they tell you something, but they're not willing to put it in the contract, they are lying to you. If you start walking out the door, they'll either let you keep going, in which case you just saved yourself a lot of trouble, or they will suddenly become very truthful.
Which also goes into, and you're probably going to get into this, but very quickly, that carries on after the contract has been signed, after you're working with the hotel. Communications about the event itself, about the venue, about anything that matters, email. All email, everything on there will be logged. You will have that email forever. Nothing should ever be done over the phone. And if you're doing it in person, which you will, you're going to have the exact same notes that they have. And that meeting was to write up an email that will then be sent to both parties so that everything is in black and white. Very, very important.
Yep. Alkali, I'm gonna ask you to talk about this one.
What's that?
Imagine a scenario where you're running a dance or a dance competition, and some over-enthusiastic fursuiter does some amazing high kick backflip thing, lands on his back and shatters his spine.
Insurance is your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to jump off convention running and we're going to go into literal event running. I'm not talking about running a 100-person convention. I am talking about gathering 20 people together in a rented house for the weekend. It is as simple as going out and getting something called event insurance. Any insurance company will gladly take a few hundred of your dollars to give you event insurance, and it will cover you under catastrophic means. Obviously, the bigger the convention, the better your insurance can be, but you can do something as small as catastrophic insurance. Now, we're not talking about something that's going to cost your entire convention budget. It's a few $100s for a peace of mind that you desperately, desperately need. This will be what sinks your convention. And on top of that, when you fill out the insurance form, pay close attention to what you are telling them you will and will not have at your convention, i.e. bouncy castles. There are multiple things that you could do at your event that will change the insurance contract. And if at any point you go against one of the things you told them that you were or were not going to do, your insurance is null and void. And there's a specific line on those contracts about bouncy castles, which somebody set up back of house. Why? It's a very funny story. As you can see, my friend right now is laughing. I've got Demon sitting off to the side. He's laughing. I am laughing as well right now. I'm laughing
because it happened to you and not me.
Yes. Yeah. I was not laughing when I was sitting in operations and was told there was a bouncy castle set up behind the main event stage. Why? Because from that point forward, at that convention, if any picture was taken of that and the insurance company got wind of it and I needed that insurance, it was null and void. That convention was gone. That is why I was not amused the day it happened.
There are 3 specific check boxes. I probably should have gotten one of our insurance questionnaires and shown people. On like the 3rd page of the insurance questionnaire, and it's a questionnaire. Tell us about your event. Do you have this? Do you have that? By the way, they don't want to hear the word rave. No.
Nope. Never.
Yep. The 3 things that are like the first thing in their minds. Do you have fireworks? Do you have indoor pyrotechnics? Or do you have bouncy castles? Because apparently all 3 of these things are in the same risk category.
Yes. Yes. And by the way, the one that everyone is wondering about, alcohol, you will never need to do alcohol for your event because you do not serve alcohol. The hotel serves alcohol, and that is covered under their insurance clause. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you go to a convention, they say no open containers in convention space? What they're actually telling you is no open containers outside of the bar because we're selling you that booze and we need to know where it is, and that's where our insurance is covered. That's why that happens so much.
You know, it's a strange thing. This doesn't happen to any other convention organizer. After the first year that I ran Anthrocon at the Westin keeps saying, could you maybe take on the alcohol liability? And I said, no. That's your liability, dude. By the way, don't. Okay, yes, it's fine. I'm a clown. Yes, I am the entertaining drunk. When you are dealing with your venue, this is business. Don't show up drunk to a meeting with the hotel. Yeah, it might seem funny to you, but these people, they're business people. This is their livelihood. Don't show up in a ratty t-shirt with beer stains on it with your belly hanging out. They're not going to take you seriously. If you want to be taken seriously, you have to look like a business person. And don't try to get cute. I remember I had a cup of Starbucks coffee on Sunday morning at Anthrocon, the very first year we were there. It was a cup of Starbucks coffee. And I was enjoying my Starbucks coffee while I was talking to the convention center manager. I said, damn, this is great coffee. And she said, yes, I smell it on your breath.
Oh, honey. And just to change directions for the briefest of moments, after you're established, when you've been working with this venue, I 100% agree with my friend here. Meeting the hotel, suit, tie, we went in there. We are a business. We would like to enter into a business venture with you. We have finished year 1. What did you guys think? What are the pros? Were the year 2? Yes, we have all worked. By year 3, at every meeting, they were bringing in bottles of tequila and cookies, which said a lot about me, but I appreciated it. Your relationship with that hotel will change. And if you work at it and you're willing, that will change for the better, which leads us to always have a good hotel liaison who can talk to people truthfully. It does not help having a hotel liaison who just kind of hems and haws and passive aggressiveness. No, it is a business. That is the person who needs to show the hotel that you are a business and you understand that they are a business. Very important role.
Now, Anthrocon enjoys a very, very unique business relationship with the hotels in the city of Pittsburgh. That is a relationship that I have fostered over, what's it been now, 16 years? Don't expect that your first year. The first year, it has to be established. Yeah, this is a business. I'm the customer, but there's also human beings on the other end. Don't let me ever catch you going to the hotel and saying, well, I'm paying for this and you people need to give me this. They don't like that. And here is where, okay, there is a tremendous amount of friction between me personally and some other organizers out there. And, it's going to happen. We're human beings. Nobody agrees. You want to run a lascivious, let it all hang out sex party. Okay, great. That's your thing. But your hotel ain't going to like it because they've got an image to uphold. And if you don't keep control of your people, that hotel eventually is going to say, we've had enough. Get the hell out. Fortunately, that's never happened to anyone.
Never. Never at all.
Except maybe.
And
I'll tell you what, we'll cover that in the Convention War Stories panel, maybe.
shall we? To piggyback off that one, because you're bringing up every good point. We're not going to name the con. There was a convention who the organizer, this was the lead person, treated the hotel as though they were subservient, that they were there at their beck and call. This is a con that is not around anymore. And I got to talk briefly with the hotel. I want you to remember that these hotels talk. That convention is not around anymore because they pissed off one hotel. That convention is not around anymore because they pissed off one hotel who told every other hotel how they were treated. That convention is gone.
There was another convention, which is not the one that Alkali is talking about. They had been situated in a Starwood hotel when Starwood was still a thing, the Starwood group of hotels.
Okay. I don't remember.
And all of a sudden, one year, they were not in that hotel anymore. They were in a different hotel. And it didn't seem to be like an upward movement because of growth. It was kind of like, we're not here, we're now going to be here. Well, yeah, hotels talk, and if they've got good relationships with their customers, they also talk. I'm just going to put it this way. In the Starwood, now Marriott, or Hilton family of hotels, nothing happens at any furry convention at one of those hotels that I don't hear about.
Yep.
I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? So you'll have no secrets. Yep. This hotel that mysteriously was in a Starwood hotel and then was not anymore, I had a little discussion with one of my folks at a Starwood hotel, and I said, okay, tell me, did you get a phone call from a convention in this city about a furry convention? And her answer was, well, I can't discuss that with you. The answer was not, no, I don't know what you're talking about. The answer was, I can't discuss that with you. That told me everything I needed to know.
Awesome.
Yep. I'm running very low on time. And I promised folks that I would give them like a 5-10 minute pee break between the end of this and the next, because Vic and Lauren, they need to rest their hands. I need to open another bottle because this one's getting pretty low. But I was talking to a fellow in Scandinavia, and he raised an interesting point when I said you have to have a local group. He said, well, the culture over there is different. People tend to be fairly spread out. They're not going to travel a long distance for a 5-6 hour fur meet. Okay, if that is the case in your area, don't jump to a hotel. Don't try to start a convention. Try this. Tell folks, okay, we're going to have an all day, all night, I don't know, bowling meet, picnic, whatever. Tell people here are hotels in the area that are cheap. Don't make a contract with those hotels. Just tell people, here's where you can stay. Let them come in. If they are willing to travel to your area and on their own stay overnight, now you've got something. But if you can't coerce people to just come from a couple of miles away, you're not going to be able to start a convention in East. What was it? I can't remember the name of the town. East Clusterfuck, Idaho, something like that. What was it
Oh,
called?
God damn. You are not allowed to
But
name cities.
well, no, okay. I'll have you know that my dear and sainted mother's sister, Millie, she currently lives in East Clusterfuck, Idaho, and it's
Oh,
actually a very,
does
very
she?
nice town. Yeah.
What's the postal code over there?
66669.
There it is. Cheers.
Okay. At this point, Alkali, what do you think? I need to refill my bottle or get a new bottle. People need to go to the bathroom, and Vic and Lauren need to rest their hands. And I just know they're going to go and they're going to sit together and say, "I never thought that old guy would shut up." Jesus. Do you see her face when she does that? It's so earnest. I never thought that guy would shut up.
Tech. Oh my. At least they put a
What?
heart.
What?
Nothing. They did not just type neither did we to me. They definitely didn't do that.
Sod off. A lot of you. I'm going to be back here in about 8.5 minutes. Alkali, what about you?
I will be back here in 8.5. We're going to reset so I can get the con chairman in for the first story.
Got it. See you soon.